Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an Airbus pilot, and welcome to exactly the type of weather where you should probably call sick because you just can't even get to the airport. It is snowing in Germany and we are going to take our Airbus A321NEO on a quick trip from Munich to Frankfurt. But let's get out of the cold here and let's get into the warmth. Boarding through the aft door, which is how the real crew would be boarding the aircraft as well after arriving at the plane through the crew bus. Now let's make our way to the flight deck over here. Our aircraft is in a transit state. The engineers have already powered it up. The early crew that brought it in has already left, and we can take the plane over for a quick trip to Frankfurt and back. Now, we are going to fly this one on VATSIM. I am kind of hoping that we might be getting some air traffic control online as we are flying along in that absolutely beautiful weather, both in our departure airport in Munich as well as our destination airport over in Frankfurt. So for now, let's take a seat on the captain's seat of our A321 and start with a little bit of basics over here. The engine master levers are off, mode selector is in norm, the weather radar is... let's see, where is that click spot? Here it is. The weather radar is turned off, landing gear lever down, and the wipers are off. Battery voltage is checked, external power is available, so why not use it as well? Now, it is pretty cold over here, so we will be using that APU bleed nonetheless, but using the external power relieves the APU a little bit and therefore saves a bit of fuel. Now let's go ahead and set up our radios real quick. We got 1 to 2.8 set active and 1 to 1.5 set active, and we are listening to that with a speaker at about half volume. That is absolutely all we need. Now we want to make sure to listen to both VHF 1 as well as VHF 2 and the interphone down here. So something like that. Then let's go ahead and do the APU fire tests, and that's looking fantastic. IRS 1, 2 and 3 going into nav, and then we can bring our attention to the electronic flight bag, where we are going to start with the briefing. So Lufthansa 6 November X-ray on the Delta Alpha India Echo Quebec, which is an A321neo with Pratt & Whitney engines. OFP number 2 is looking fair, and then having a look at the dispatch map, we are looking at basically nothing forecast for our flight. I'm surprised, but that's what it is. So, airport weather. Munich is reporting 1,100 meters visibility. RVR on 8 left is 1,400 decreasing in heavy snow. Alright, that's gonna make things interesting. And temporary moderate snow. Frankfurt is reporting normal snow and variable winds, 3,600 meters visibility, broken 300, which is almost going to enforce low visibility procedures over there. Temperature 0 degrees, QNH 998. In the forecast, that snow is going to stick until, well, what's that? Until after, well, 3 AM local time. Departure alternate Zurich also reporting snow, but Munich is not going to be available for a return, so we got Zurich available. Nuremberg and Stuttgart are okay at the moment as well. Destination alternate Düsseldorf again is reporting a lot of rain, so that's probably the only reason why Düsseldorf is chosen as an alternate here. The other airport, Stuttgart, currently reporting light rain, and in the forecast kind of sticking to that as well, and the same goes for Hahn and for Münster. So with that in mind, let's scroll up a little bit and have a look at the flight plan. We're leaving Munich at 1100 UTC, arriving in Frankfurt at 1200 UTC, not critical with any of our weights, cruising in flight level 240. Now for our fuel, we are looking at 4.5 plus taxi. Then we also need to de-ice, so let's double the taxi figure to 400 kilos. Now the question is, how seriously do we expect Frankfurt to close the airport? And I'm telling you honestly, yep, I can absolutely imagine that happening. So what I'm going to do is to take an additional, well, let's say half an hour over here, just to be sure to keep it on the safe side. So half an hour is 1,100 kilos. So overall we're looking at 4.5 plus increased taxi 4.9. So let's make that 6 tons of fuel. Okay, with that in mind, let's have a look down here at our MCDU, and we're going to start down here on the ATSU for now. AOC menu in it, and let's see, Lufthansa, come on, give me that flight plan. Okay, let's just hit request data and see what's going to happen. Okay, initialization received, and if you notice the same long lag that I did, then yeah, that was apparently the entire computer just hanging over here when I requested the uplink. Don't see that every day. Alright, so, interestingly enough, without a flight number, but hey, so be it. Alright, crew details, 330 driver and 330 co-pilot is going to be on board as well. That's you guys. Okay, and here we go, Lufthansa 105, now it has been received in full. Okay then, so let's go ahead, OFP data, and we're looking for a block fuel of 6,000 kilos, and that is going to be an instant refueling, please. Schedule 1100, yep, that should absolutely be possible. Why are you telling me that that can't work? Here we go, send OFP data. Okay, now let's go for boarding, and that is all looking good. Let's go board now and request. Alright, with all that stuff out of the way, let's go ahead and grab our departure weather. That's gonna be Munich, and we will also be looking for Frankfurt already. And you can give me the actual MEDA, please. So, let's see all the stuff we got. Slot notification. No, load sheet. That one down here, that should be the slot. Yep, CTOT is 1121. Okay, we better not miss that one, otherwise we are surely going to be in trouble. Now, weather for Munich is exactly that same stuff, that's fine. Okay, so far so good. A321-200, Pratt & Whitney engine, nav database is up to date, and the flight plan has uplinked. Wonderful. Okay, so that good stuff is done. Then let's move right back into the electronic flight bag and do our takeoff performance here. So we got at least config 2, the air conditioning is going to be off and the anti-ice will be on. Departing 8 left via Alpha 3. And the runway condition, well, is probably not just going to be wet, but that's everything that Flight Sim Labs gives us, so we gotta live with it. So conf 2, flex 60, and those speeds are looking okay. Alright, so we know that we can depart, and for our flight, let's import everything from Navigraph. Here we go, looking good. Technical logbook. Forward demo kit in poor condition, that's absolutely fine. Alright, so our aircraft is in a good shape. Well then, we're good to go with everything up here, so let's go right back to the ECAM, do a recall for 3 seconds, 1, 2, and 3, and that is all looking fantastic down here. Alright, so oxygen is good, hydraulic quantity is good, engine oil quantity is completely full. I like it. Okay, flaps up, that agrees with the lever, spoilers retracted, we can't test the ultimate brakes because they still have the bug that kills the ground power, which I'm not gonna go for right now, and then we are done with our preliminary flight deck preparation. So, I wish you good luck for the walk around. I'm definitely not gonna go outside. I will do everything on the inside. And looks like our engineers actually did a good job here. Refueling is finished. So, batteries are looking good. So, fire test. Looking good for engine 1. And looking good for engine 2. So, over here everything is set. Then we can go right down. Let's see, what's the QNH again? What's the QNH again? 1002. Like that. And it's the 16th of February. Right, everything's set. Frequencies are looking good. Audio control panel is good. Weather radar is good. In the middle, everything's set. Transponder is set. And then we can go ahead and start with our FMS setup. So, give me that flight plan, please. Here we go. Okay, so Munich to Frankfurt, alternate Düsseldorf, Lufthansa 6 November X-ray, Costin X20, flight level 240, that's all correct. Then we're going to depart Munich on runway 8 left via the give me 6 Quebec departure, insert, and for the time being Frankfurt has the ILS approach 25 left active with the Debbie 1 Bravo arrival, which we can insert as well. Then let's go for the secondary where we got the Mook X1 as an engine out point based on Munich 08 left, 080 and 25 miles straight ahead, which we can store. Insert a holding, 080 right-hand turns, that looks good, and return to Munich. Well, I will enter that, however, whether we are gonna fly that or not is a whole different story because of the current weather. Now, Munich 08 left as reference fix, runway heading 080 and the Mook X1 waypoint for here. Now, very quick look into the route. Where we got Munich to Frankfurt, 8 left, give me 6 Quebec, Yankee 101 Ernest, Tango 161 Debbie, Debbie arrival, ILS 25 left, giving us a ground distance of 222 versus 223. Perfect. Now let's go for our init, and we got 69.4 CG 25, block fuel 6, 26 knots, a headwind is looking correct, contingency 0.1, alternate 1.4, final 1.1. Okay, flaps 5 takeoff. Sorry, flaps 2 takeoff, wrong aircraft. 60 degrees, and the speed's, yeah, 201, but no, I don't trust the runway. 150, 163, 163. In conditions like those today, things can change so incredibly quickly that I do really not want to risk anything going wrong there. So let's do it this way. Right, and Munich 08 left. Okay, cruising 240, optimum 280. All the rest is looking fantastic, and then we are almost done. Just gotta check that departure. So let's find the Navigraph charts. Give me 6 Quebec. Do we have an on-off version of that, please? Okay, on-off overlays, and give me 6 Quebec. Interesting, should be pinned already. Okay. Anyway, straight at Delta Mike 070 above 1900. And we got 070 above 1900. Then a left turn, Delta Mike 073, Mike at 250 knots, and give me. And we got 0700, 073, Mike 250, and give me. Alright, that overshoot there is a little concerning though, but it wants to be at 250 knots after that turn. Well, probably not, so let's just call it 220, just to show the track keeping here. Yeah, that looks better, doesn't it? I mean, we can probably still fly it a little bit tighter, but I don't want to limit it too much. Let's say 200, just to get an idea of what the plane thinks it needs for the turn. Yeah, makes no difference, okay. What's the clean speed? 223, then we are going to enter 223. Okay, something like that. That looks okay, doesn't it? Okay, so all the stuff over here is done. Then up here, QNH is 1002, initial climb flight level 70, and 1002 over here as well, and then we are done with the setup. Oxygen. Ground cockpit. Mind your ears, oxygen test. And the same on your side, please. Wait a moment, that last one didn't work. Now it does. Alright, that's all looking fantastic. Well then, I'd say without any further ado, we just go right to the briefing, shall we? So we're leaving Munich, runway 08 left, give me 6 Quebec, departure, initial climb, flight level 70, and the MSA is 4,000 feet, including the cold temperature correction. Extra fuel and time, we got 29 minutes. Thank you for that. No hotspots for our taxi routing, and the stop margin for the RTO is around 400 meters. In case of any malfunction, we can climb straight ahead. 4,000, well, make it 5,000 feet just to be safe here above the corrected MSA, and then we gotta decide on the further action. Munich is probably not a very good option due to the weather, even though it should be within the Cat 1 conditions, but better safe than sorry, so we just go into the holding, evaluate our options, see whether Nuremberg, Stuttgart or Zurich or maybe even Frankfurt are viable options under the given conditions. If things have to go really quick, and that's basically only if the airplane is on fire, then we are going to come back on a 6-mile final and attempt to do an automatic landing back here. We are below the maximum landing weight, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem. And, well, apart from that, I really got nothing for the emergencies. Now, specials, we got a couple of them. The airplane taxied in without icing, so we got 30 minutes to the run-up, but de-icing will be required, will be done right at the runway. We'll do that carefully and slowly. Delay doesn't really matter at all there. And for anything out of the ordinary, you call it out or I call it out, whoever sees it first. Non-standards we do not have, and threats for the departure? Well, I basically just see one threat, and that is slippery surfaces. So we take the turns especially carefully, especially since the FS Labs does act a little interesting in turns. So just take everything carefully, don't overreach ourselves, and it's cold weather operations, it simply takes time. Any questions or suggestions? No? Perfect, then that's our briefing completed. Now one thing I'll do here is to turn the probe window heater on already, so that we can de-ice any of those probes. And then I'd say let's do the cockpit preparation checklist. Gear pins and covers removed, fuel quantity 5,970 kilograms balanced, seatbelts on, ADRs, nav and Baro Ref, QNH 1002. Cockpit preparation checklist complete. So we do once again not know how our boarding is going, unfortunately. That's one thing that I'd really like to see improved here with the FS Labs, but so be it. We'll just accept it for the time being. Yeah, shocks should be in place anyway. Surfaces. Boarding passengers now. Alright, that's fine. What I'm going to do is the following. Atsu AOC menu, boarding, instant, request. And then we can reset GSX. Okay. So, ground fighter, you can remove the ground power, please. Then let's have a look. Final load sheet in compliance with edition number 1, 69.5 versus 69.4. And 28.0. 6 tons fuel, that is checked. Takeoff weight 75.3, that is also checked. 198 passengers, 0 infants. Accept that. And then we got what? 75.3 versus 26.3. Yeah, that's close enough. So up trim 0.6. Okay, takeoff data is checked. That's all looking good. Then we're basically done down here. So what's GSX up to now? Nothing anymore. Hello? Okay, looks like they are working on the pushback. I'm not going to complain about that. Okay, lovely. So unfortunately there is no ATC online at the time, so we cannot do anything with that. But let's ensure that 122.8 is active and 121.5 is active, and then we're basically ready to go. Okay, let's close up. Say hello. Liebe Gäste, einen wunderschönen guten Nachmittag aus dem Cockpit. Hier spricht Ihr Kapitän. Mein Name ist Emanuel. Im Namen der Lufthansa darf ich Sie ganz herzlich an Bord unseres A321NEO auf unserem Flug nach Frankfurt begrüßen. Wir sind dann in einer Minute auch so weit, dass wir vom Gate zurückdrücken können. Erwarten heute eine Flugzeit von 35 Minuten mit einer hoffentlich pünktlichen Ankunft in Frankfurt. Das wird aber nicht an uns liegen, das wird daran liegen, wie lange es dauern wird, das Flugzeug am Gate zu enteisen. Wir danken da schon einmal für Ihr Verständnis, werden dann zur Bahn rollen. An der Startbahn werden wir dann die Enteisung durchführen und dann machen wir uns auf den Weg. Wir bedanken uns ganz herzlich, dass Sie heute unsere Gäste sind. Lehnen Sie sich zurück, genießen Sie den Flug mit uns und wir melden uns im Anflug mit den neuesten Wetterbedingungen bei Ihnen. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning from the flight deck. This is your captain speaking. My name is Emanuel, and in the name of Lufthansa, welcome aboard our Airbus A321NEO on our flight to Frankfurt. Today's flight time has been calculated as 35 minutes, and we will be ready for pushback in just a few moments. However, we will still need to de-ice the aircraft, which is going to be done right at the departure runway. Thank you very much for your attention. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight with us. And if there is anything we can do for you to make it more enjoyable, please don't hesitate to ask any of our charming cabin crew members. Thank you very much, and we'll get back to you with the latest weather when we start the approach into Frankfurt. Okay, ground from cockpit. Please confirm that all doors and hatches are closed, ground equipment is removed, and the bypass pin is installed. That's all confirmed. Roger that, we will call you in a moment, and we'll be facing north on Echo 2. Okay, before start checklist, park and brake is set, takeoff speeds and thrust, V1 150, VR 163, V2 163, flex 60, windows closed, beacon on, before start checklist complete. So, ground cockpit, pushback is approved, and the park and brake is... Very quick check. Everything clear. Perfect. And the park and brake is now released. You can start the pushback. Let us know when we can commence engine start, please. Munich traffic, Lufthansa 6 November X-ray, pushing back, stand 246. Okay, so start sequence is going to be 1 then 2, and we'll be motoring both engines at the same time, okay? Roger. Then we're ready for engine start, and we'll commence engine number 1 now. So that's looking good. Cooling, 1 minute and 12. Dual motoring is on, engine 1 start. So what the dual cooling is doing is that you will see that it is actually providing bleed air to both engines. They are going to run both up to about 10%, and that's going to cool both engines at the same time. Now, with today's weather, the cooling luckily doesn't have to be too long, and you will notice that as soon as the cooling is completed, it's going to remove bleed air from engine number 2 again, so that it has the entire bleed air that it needs available for the start of engine number 1. And well, that's everything there is behind the dual cooling system on the A321NEO. Pretty simple system, and something where I really do not understand why the 737 MAX doesn't have something like that. Well, I can only guess, because the Neo only has it for the Pratt & Whitney engines, not for the CFM LEAP 1A engines, which are kind of the same that the Max has. The Max has LEAP 1B. So I suppose that's the reason why. Alright, we're reaching the end of the cooling cycle. You will be able to notice that it's going to close the start valve for engine number 2 in a moment. Here you go. Cooling is completed. And now the igniter is coming on. The start valve for 2 is closing. And now it's commencing the normal engine start for engine number 1. And you can see number 2 is running back down because it is not receiving any bleed air any longer. And the pushback is completed. Please set park and brake. Park and brake set. And we got a good start on 1, starting 2. Alright, now that we're starting engine number 2, you will see that it may recompute a very short cooling cycle only, but apart from that, we are going to get a normal engine start. See? And that's really saving some time when starting those A321NEO engines. So, there's a tuck, there's a tow bar. And there's a ramp agent who is holding a pin. Okay, ground, we have 2 good starts. Prepare the airplane for taxi. See you on the right hand side and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye. And there he is.
Mention traffic to Pendular 5, Lima Bravo, and 205, we're pushing back station down.
Okay, we're not going to do anything down here until the airplane has been de-iced. And then after start checklist. Anti-ice, engine anti-ice on. Ecam status checked, pitch trim 0.6, and rudder trim neutral. After start checklist complete. Munich, Lufthansa 6 November X-ray, taxi holding point runway 08 left. Right side is clear, left side is clear. Park and brake released. Let's go. Brake check. Pressure 0. Okay, I guess since there is no traffic here, I mean, someone just called for push, but... Okay, they're over here. Alright, then we cannot take the shortcut. At least not yet, but we have to go a little bit further straight ahead. So we're sitting up here, taxiing straight ahead, eventually into November 3, November to the de-icing pad Alpha 2. Okay, now we cleared the other Lufthansa, so let's take the shortcut into November 3. Here we go. Alright, it may be a little slippery here, so let's be careful. Let's not exceed those 10 knots when going through those turns. Looks like most of the snow is still rather fresh. The fields are still showing green. But I have a feeling that that's not going to hold for too long. Definitely not with this kind of snow intensity here. Alright, so... here we go. Alright then, we are going to de-icing pad 2 November. So let's go ahead and tell GSX that we are doing that. So, de-icing services. 8 left, area 2. And a follow me is not required for that.
Munich traffic at 2.5 near Bravo. Exit and runway 0 left.
Lufthansa 5 Lima Bravo from 6 November X-ray. Are you going to de-ice at the runway as well?
Negative.
Roger, then we'll be going into, what's that, de-icing pad number 2, so Alpha 2. If you want to take any of the others and overtake, that's fine with us.
Roger, thanks for the heads up.
Alright, always a good idea to help the colleagues there. Because many tend to go to the Alpha 2 intersection because it gives you the full length without having to go the extra way over there for Alpha 1. So that's why I thought, like, I'd rather tell him because, well, due to flight simulation he can't really see that we are de-icing. So if he wants to take the shortcut, then he absolutely can. Even though I don't really understand how you cannot de-ice in weather like this, since VATSIM does require you to use real-world weather. Okay, so Alpha 2 to the right. Even though I can't even see the taxi line, I can just see the taxi sign. Okay, here it comes. So 10 knots. Okay, so the de-icing area is just in front of the holding point in order to provide the best possible margins without exceeding the holdover time limitations. Now we should actually have a marshaller guiding us in, but there is nobody here. Well, then I'm going to park here on my own. And here it is. Okay. Good. So the park and brake is set, and then we can go right into it. So, Iceman from Lufthansa Alpha India Echo Quebec. Echo Quebec, Iceman. So, we are not prepared for spraying just yet, but we will need probably type 4 at 100% here due to those weathers. Let us know when you are ready down there. We call you as soon as we are prepared for spraying. So, do not start the engine steering fluid spraying. Cabin pressurization mode selector, check auto. That's auto. Engine 1 bleed off. Aircon, engine 1 bleed off. Engine 2 bleed off. Aircon, engine 2 bleed off. APU bleed off. Ditching push button push. Okay, check the outflow valve to be fully open. Fully closed, of course. Here we go. And note the ventilation avionics system fault alert can appear and can be reset. Aircraft thrust levers check idle. Idle. Okay, so Iceman, the Lufthansa Echo Quebec is prepared for spraying. Roger that. We start the services now. Alright, there they come. Okay, got a couple alerts here that is expected. And here we go. So probably starting the de-icing procedure any moment now. Let's get that timer running. And then we can start to have a look into the very latest weather, just to be sure that we are using the most current data for our holdover time predictions. So Munich is reporting showers of snow and tempo light snow. Visibility is now 1900. Okay, so let's start with the snowfall as a function of prevailing visibility. The temperature is -1 degree and below, and the visibility we said is 1900. So that gives us 2000 -1 and below light snow, since it is daylight. Okay, so that much about that table. We got light snow. And then we can go for the holdover time table, which we got here for generic type 4 fluid. And that one gives us the temperature of -3 and above, concentration 100%, light snow 55 minutes. However, they do say that there may be some rain involved as well. And that could get us down to light freezing rain 15 minutes. I think that's probably the one that I am going to go for. So 15 minutes holdover time. Okay. So how's the procedure going? Looks like they've just finished. Okay, that's fantastic. And there's the company who is not de-icing. At this moment, if I saw that in the real world, I'd just be writing down that registration and I'd immediately be telling them on the radio, hey, you got ice on your aircraft. And then I want to see them not de-icing. Because they would be fired straight away. Okay, so the procedure is completed over here, and Lufthansa Echo Quebec from Iceman, we have used the Type 4 fluid at 100%, the holdover time starts at 06, and the aircraft critical parts are clean. Okay, thank you very much, that's all copied. Then, ditching push button switch off. Off, outflow valve check open. And here we go, it starts opening. So we just gotta watch that entire thing. That's how the procedure works. And that is looking good. Alright, outflow valve is checked open. At least 1 minute after completion of the spraying operation, we got that. Engine 1 bleed on, engine 1 bleed on, engine 2 bleed on. And at least 5 minutes after completion, APU bleed as required, normal procedures resume. Okay, so, flaps 2. And flight control track. Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left, full right, neutral. Rudder, full left, full right, neutral. Okay. So, that's all done. Then let's go for the taxi procedures. Taxi checklist. So, flight controls, checked. Flaps, config 2, radar and predictive wind shear, on and auto, engine mode selector, norm, ecam memo, takeoff, no blue, taxi checklist complete. Munich traffic, Lufthansa 6 November X-ray, line up and takeoff, runway 08 left. Cabin crew, prepare for departure. Lineup checklist. Take off runway. 08 left for length. Oh, hello. Why don't you do any Unicom announcement, my friends? Okay, so
approaching 08 left.
that's checked, and let's just do the lineup checklist again. Takeoff runway, 08 left full length, TCAS, Tara, PAX 1 and 2, off, lineup checklist complete. Alright, the windsock is down the runway. Looks like it may be a little contaminated though.
On runway 08 left.
Checked. Okay, here we are. So, let's release that steering disconnect button. That's just, well, the way that it works in the FS Labs, and then we are ready. Are you ready? Yep. Okay. So, down here everything is looking good. The holdover time is still good. Takeoff. Stabilized. Map flag 60, SRS, runway, auto thrust blue. Thrust set. .100 knots, checked. V1. Rotate. Positive climb. Gear up. Nav, checked. Thrust climb, climb, auto thrust. Flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. So the route is looking good now. And we're passing Delta Mike 070, so let's start that left-hand turn. Interesting how the flight director is barely commanding an acceleration here. Let's help it a bit with that. Just pitch a little bit further down manually here. Autopilot 1. Flap 0. Speed checked. Flaps 0. Alright, so continue the climb, flight level 190 and set standard. Standard cross check, passing flight level 57 now. Checked. Okay, and then we're overflying Delta Mike 073 in a moment, so we can continue the acceleration there. No longer need that holdover time reminder. Excellent. Alright, so let's ask the important questions. ETA 59, schedule is on the hour, but we're probably not going to fly the entire arrival. Speed, yeah, looks okay. I tell you what, just be on the safe side here, let's go cost an X80. And now we're arriving at 56, that's perfect. Alright, getting out of the weather, even though there will be some more over there, so the anti-ice can definitely remain on for the time being. What's that giving us? Oh, looks like our route is actually quite good. I like it that way. Let's continue that way. Alrighty, so anything else we need to consider? Not really at the moment. So hey, we made it out of that weather. That's definitely the type of operation that you don't necessarily want to be doing. I'm kind of hoping that Frankfurt is going to be a little bit easier, but I'm kind of afraid that it's not. So, passing level 100. We want to keep that speed restriction over mic. Not really, yeah? Let's remove it. So, 340 knots. Maybe a bit too fast for my taste. What's cost NX50 giving us? 332, 40, 322. That's better, isn't it? Like, we don't want to be flying right there at the maximum, especially not when going through weather like this. So we seem to be clear for now. Engine anti-ice off. And then I guess we can actually release our passengers, because we will be staying clear of that weather. So they're released. Let's climb flight level 240. And standard is set. We can go for airports over here. So clear and copy, please. Optimum 255, cruising 240. Well, it doesn't get much better than that. Then we can take Frankfurt's 25 left down here. Okay, so the preceding is 18 miles ahead. If I need to guess, he's probably gonna go to the same destination, is he? Now the big question is, what are they gonna do with the runway in Frankfurt? Unfortunately, there is no ATC online whom we could ask, but I'm fairly sure that they would be switching to runway 25 here. Because 07 used to be active a little bit earlier during the day. But yeah, fairly sure that it would be runway 25 now. What's the latest Frankfurt weather? Variable 1, 2,400 meters in snow, road 300, overcast 700, becoming 3,000 in light snow. That doesn't tell us much. Okay, well, I suppose we just gotta go with it for the time being, the way it is. The Lufthansa in front is going to the same destination. Let's ask him what he's going to do. Lufthansa 5 Lima Bravo from 7 November, correction, 6 November X-ray.
5 Lima Bravo, go ahead.
Are you planning runway 07 or runway 25? Are you planning runway 07 or runway 25 in Frankfurt?
Oh, sorry, I thought I had my push up. It's showing wind calm, so let's go for 25.
Sounds absolutely perfect. We'll do the same. Just afraid some people may still be using 07, as that's what ATC had active earlier today, but I totally agree, so we'll go runway 25, thank you.
Perfect.
Alright, because it would have been a little bit of a problem if that guy would be flying around the airport, we'd be going straight in. If he's 20 miles ahead of us, that could be the perfect fit. AKA the perfect crash. So I think just discussing that was probably the best thing to do here. Otherwise, there doesn't seem to be too much traffic at the moment, so it should be fairly easy going. Hey, why is my computer hanging again? That's the same thing that it did on the ground. What is FS Labs doing? Killing the autopilot. Here we go, AP1. Okay, so let's see. ETA then, let's say on block at 55. Let's just send that to the company, because in weather like this it's always good if you can plan. So, to Frankfurt station. Message. Gute ETA Fra 1155. What are we? Echo Quebec. Alright, that is looking good. And accept, send. Alright, lovely. So that looks like we may need a little bit of anti-ice again. So engine anti-ice is on, and sorry for that little cut and the little hung frame rates there. Apparently that's been caused by the computer lag, so I just had to restart my recording tool over here, cut the two things together, and there we go. So approaching, speed, vertical speed, 1000 to go. I'm going to leave engine anti-ice on until we reach the cruising level, and then we can still decide whether we are going to need it or not. So let's just see. Altitude restrictions are all in here. So the top of descent should be accurate. Where is it? 50 miles. Easy going. Okay, so almost there. Hold stop. Top of climb, 11 minutes, 3.3 tons. Alt cruise, and we have 11 minutes, 4.6 tons. We loaded 1.3 extra, so that's pretty accurate. Okay, looking good. Transponder below, and that's it. So let's see, enter destination data. Yeah, you can have that. So 0.74318, that looks, what does it have? Severe ice detected, wing anti-ice on, and it's gone. Okay, well, we'll keep it on for a little bit, and looks like we are going to be clear. So we'll just keep that on for a little bit and come back to it if needed. Kind of strange hearing those sounds on the outside, is it? Let's return to the inside. That's where I like it better. So, variable 1, we call that 0/0, temperature 0, and QNH, just don't tell me that it's 0 as well. No, it's not. They do have a little bit of air there. 9998. And then we just change over, AP2. That way you avoid the aircraft reacting or giving altitude alerts. And back to AP1. Okay. So, minimum 590, including cold temperature correction, flaps full for sure, MSA 4300 plus correction 4600 with 5000 feet go-around altitude, and then copy, and we'll insert the Yankee approach runway 25 right, W1 Bravo, and that's all looking good. Alright, so that's 560 for the minimum. So 580 including the cold temperature correction. Okay. everything entered. Let's do some calculations. So, landing in Frankfurt, 25 right. That's with engine anti-ice on. Well, probably full anti-ice on. Reversers, let's calculate none to be on the safe side here. And... where can I... oh, here. Here it is. Okay. So, Arkham, we are gonna go for medium to poor, just to be on the safe side here. Calculate. And at that weight we can actually land on 25 right, which is the shorter of the two runways with 1 meter margin. 73.2. Yeah, well, let's make it 73.5-ish. Recalculate. Okay, so auto brake low would not work if we take the conservative approach, and if we take the reverser's operative approach, it gives me a longer landing distance. Well, that does not sound very believable. Okay, let's go for something that's probably more to be expected. Medium gives me the same figure. That makes no sense at all. That makes no sense at all. Good to medium. Okay, I don't know what FS Labs is calculating here, but that is probably nonsense. In any case, auto brake medium it is, just to be on the safe side over here. So, the preceding is already on the descent, and they are getting closer, so I guess they're probably not as much in a hurry as we are. But in any case, our setup is complete, so let's just try turning wing anti-ice back off. And we're getting the ice not detected caution or memo here, so let's just turn the engine anti-ice off as well. Okay, so far so good. Then let's go ahead and say goodbye to our passengers. Liebe Gäste aus dem Cockpit, Ihr Kapitän, wir haben jetzt schon die Hälfte des Weges nach Frankfurt zurückgelegt. Das Wetter dort derzeit einige Schneeschauer bei einer Temperatur von 0 Grad. Wir bedanken uns herzlich, dass Sie heute Lufthansa geflogen sind, wünschen Ihnen einen schönen Aufenthalt und gegebenenfalls eine gute und sichere Weiterreise und würden uns freuen, Sie bald wieder an Bord eines unserer Flugzeuge willkommen zu heißen. Ladies and gentlemen from the flight deck, this is your captain speaking. We have already covered half the distance to Frankfurt and we are going to start our descent shortly. We do expect an on-time arrival and the latest weather in Frankfurt. Currently we are looking at some snow showers and a temperature of 0 degrees. Thank you for choosing to fly with Lufthansa today. We hope you enjoyed your stay on board and wish you a nice and safe onwards journey. Okay, passengers covered. Are you ready for the approach briefing? So let's just commence our descent here down to eventually flight level 110. Thrust idle, descent out, flight level 110 blue. And the traffic is like, what, 10 miles ahead now? Lufthansa 5 Lima Bravo, please report your speed. No? Okay, in any case we have to slow down here, because we are completely eating him up. He's now 10 miles ahead of us. Thrust idle. Let's actually help it a bit here. Lufthansa 5 Lima Bravo, could you report your speed, please? No, he cannot. Yeah, 7 miles out, he is much slower than we are. So, speed 250. I would have liked to stay fast, but can't do anything about this. Let's go full speed brake for the time being. And whenever you go full speed brake is normally a good time to turn on the seatbelts as well. Okay, so far so good. If only that wouldn't bring us into the low speed cautions, but that's fine. Okay. So let's go for the briefing, please. We are flying the Debbie 1 Bravo arrival for an ILS approach runway 25 left, and the arrival is going to be with a temperature corrected MSA of 4,600 feet down to a minimum of 590 feet, go around straight ahead left turn, climbing 5,000. We got nothing. Well, we got extra fuel, and we do have that in the form of 900 kilos, giving us 23 minutes. The approach is going to be flown with flight director guidance, flaps full, auto brakes medium, and maximum reverse to vacate the runway to the right hand side. And we are going to cross runway 25 center, which is the hotspot for our taxi-in. Nothing special, nothing non-standard, and at least not for the approach. Once we are on the ground, well, specials is the entire weather. We'll have to see if there may be any potential for icing on the flaps, which may lead us to keep the flaps extended. And speed brakes coming in, speed. So we'll check for any potential of icing on the flaps. We'll check for any possible bad surface conditions that may cause us to go slip off somewhere. So basically the typical kind of stuff, but nothing special. Over here, typical winter conditions. Now, that's pretty much it. Do you have any threats for the arrival? Except for the weather. Traffic is one that I do absolutely agree with. Especially the guy in front of us. He's now at about 6 miles. Now, if ATC was online, they would become a little bit nitpicky there. They always want you at 10 miles on VATSIM when you enter the next sector. However, a 5 is possible as well. We just gotta be really careful when we start slowing down, because, well, 3 miles is the minimum, and we gotta give him the chance to actually vacate the runway before we end up going there. Now, I don't like those clouds ahead. Let's go slightly right here. 310. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much it. Any questions or suggestions on the briefing? No? Lovely, so that's our approach briefing complete. So that heading looks better, doesn't it? Now the big question, are we going to overtake the Lufthansa or are we going to stay behind him? Well, I think it may be better just to stay behind him and maintain those 250. Anti-ice, ice detected. Ecom actions. So, engine 1 anti-ice on. Engine 2 anti-ice on, and that's alright, already gone. $500 feet a minute. I just want to go on top of this, because this does look like it might turn a little bumpy. Severe ice detected. We are still in clear air. There shouldn't be any icing here. But okay, ecom actions. Wing anti-ice on, anti-ice wing on. And it's gone already. Okay. Alright, left by 10 degrees. Just to the right of that part here, and once we clear this, we'll not be able to avoid any of those. Those are simply going to be bumpy. Let's tell the cabin. Hi, it's Emmanuel from the flight deck. Just let you know it'll get bumpy in 2 or 3 minutes. Thanks. Alright, we're clear of weather. Then let's turn like, what, 10 degrees to the right. And extend that centerline, please. Actually tell you what, 305 is a good heading. Okay, and then we gotta get down. Thrust dial, open descent. So, we can sequence that flight plan on Delta Fox 620. Radial in, direct. Thanks. Here we go. We got 27 miles to that waypoint. That's going to be in 4,000, so we got to lose 10,000. 27 miles. We're a little bit high. Frankfurt Lufthansa 6 November X-ray is leaving Spesa on a heading of 310 for a straight in approach ILS 25 left. Let's try putting that wing anti-ice off again. The ice detectors are still detecting ice, so we can keep the engine anti-ice on, otherwise we are just gonna get the ECAM. And then we can descend altitude 5,000 and set QNH. QNH 9998 cross-check, passing 11.5 now. Checked. And let's give it a bit of speed brake here, just to be sure we get down. So now the big question, what is the other Lufthansa doing? But he didn't respond to our Honeycomb call. So probably not much that we can do there. He seems to be the only one else on the approach, so we'll check down there to make sure that we aren't going right into him. Let's also turn like 10 degrees left here so that we can cut the approach as quick as possible, because I have a feeling that he is flying the arrival, so we can probably just cut in front of him. So 10,000 constraints LS, GPS primary, high accuracy, and the mode selector is norm. So approach checklist, barrel ref, QNH 998. Seatbelts on, minimum, baro 590, auto brake medium, and engine mode selector norm. Approach checklist complete. Look at that weather in front of us. That's looking quite amazing, is it? Okay, speed brakes are going back in. And here you go. Now it says engine anti-ice, ice not detected. So now we can actually turn it off until we're entering that all those snow showers in front of us. Then we have to turn it back on. But you can see this way, you can easily tell whether you can turn the engine anti-ice off or whether you need to keep it on. Frankfurt traffic, Lufthansa 6 November X-ray, 14 miles from Delta Fox 620 for the ILS 25 left. Oh, and now the other one is gone. And just to be sure, that's not because I got disconnected. No, it's not. Okay. So let's descend altitude 4,000 and engine anti-ice on. Speed, vertical speed. Approaching. Activate approach phase. $1,000 to go. Checked. Let's just get the latest weather one more time. Getting Düsseldorf as well as our alternate. Okay, Düsseldorf, showers of snow and rain. And Frankfurt, wind calm, snow overcast 400, 0 degrees. Becoming 3000 meters in light snow. Okay. That's alright, we can fly this. Manage speed. Alt star. Alt. 6 miles from Delta Fox 620. So we are going to keep those 220 knots for the time being. Let's see. The big picture tells us that the mist approach is actually rather clear. So that's good. And since we are definitely on runway 25 left, we could consider going auto brake low, since the medium restriction was only required for runway 25 right. Yeah, let's do that. Brake low. Well, brake low blue. Alright, left heading 280, cleared ILS 25 left. Cat 3 dual, autopilot 1 and 2, glide slope localizer blue. Flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. Glide slope alive. The weather gives us an overcast in 400. That means that they do not necessarily have to have low visibility operations in force. That is good. So 30 knots headwind. Block start. Looks like we may actually have some rain up here and not just snow. Lock. Flaps 2. Speed checked. Flaps 2. And speed 170. Glide slope star. Go around altitude 5000 set. Glide slope.
The ILS 25 center 17 miles.
Aha! Frankfurt, Lufthansa 6 November X-ray, 10 miles final, 25 left. Alright, so he's now 7 miles behind us. And with that wind, nobody is taking off on 07, I hope. I mean, it's VATSIM, you never really know, but you can hope at least. You can hope. So it does say eyes not detected, but I don't really care. We have anything on here? Yeah, we actually do. Wing anti-ice on. Manual flight. And manual thrust. Cat 1. This is the type of weather where you could consider disconnecting as late as possible, but I'm not a huge fan of that because it just makes it difficult to acquaint yourself with the aircraft before the actual landing. So, you know, if you don't absolutely have to, I'd rather fly that flight manually. Right, gear down. Manage speed. Flaps 3. Speed check, flaps 3. And flaps full. Speed check, flaps full. Landing checklist, ECA memo, landing no blue, landing checklist complete. Man, we are needing a lot of thrust here. So now we're in the snow. I can see a couple of snowflakes in the front there. Look at that, we actually need a lot of thrust right now. So let's for once not take 1,000 screenshots, but just stay inside the cockpit and keep flying. Because the last thing you need in weather like this is distraction.
Also traffic, Lufthansa 5 Lima Bravo, 6 miles, 5925 center.
Okay, he's 4 miles behind us. Approach lights in sight. Land.
300. 100 above, 100 above.
Checked.
200. Minimum.
Continue.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard 10. 5.
Spoilers, reverse green, decel. Looks like the braking works very well here. 70 knots. Disregard, manual brakes. So, looks like our shift is over. Wing anti-ice system fault. Frankfurt Lufthansa 6 November X-ray vacating 25 left, holding short 25 center. All right. So we definitely had icing conditions on the way in, then we are going to keep those flaps extended. So left, Mike to 8, hold short 25 center. Like that. Alright, clear wing anti-ice. Clear wing anti-ice. And here we go. Alrighty, after landing checklist, radar and predictive wind shear off, after landing checklist complete. And here's Mike to 8, let's hold short runway 25 center.
Frankfurt traffic, Lufthansa 5 Lima Bravo, vacated to Flight Center, Mike 17.
Frankfurt, Lufthansa 6 November X-ray, crossing 25 center. Alright, that's probably him on the right hand side there. Funny how he took off before us in Munich, and now we've actually arrived in front of him. Okay, the right side is clear, the left side is clear. Now the question is, where is he going? Okay, he seems to be doing a 180. Okay. Actually, I think he might have been on the exit over here and is now turning onto Lima.
Frankfurt traffic, Swiss 150 Tango taxiing, holding point Lima 3, runway 25 center, runway 7 in Lima. Right.
So in conditions like these, be especially careful that you don't taxi too close to another aircraft. That other aircraft may be spraying a lot of slush behind his engines, and you absolutely don't want any of that to get ingested into any of your pitot tubes or static ports. I'm actually gonna, well, probe window heaters on anyway with the engines running. That was 737 thinking for a second there, so that's not really a problem. Okay, so let's go ahead and find our parking, which is gonna be Alpha 30 something. Let's get that chart. Parking stands east. So Alpha 18, right over there. Services, Frankfurt, Alpha. No follow me required. Thank you. Okay, so we'll enter the apron via November 8 and then the link 3 onto November 7 to the final parking.
5 Lima Bravo on Lima, turning left on November 7, taxiing to the Alpha Group.
Lufthansa 6 November X-ray is taking the shortcut via November 8, link 3 November 7. We'll have a good look out on you, and we are going to Alpha 18.
Okay.
Schönen Abend.
Gleichfalls.
Okay, this route over here simply saves a little bit of time. I guess our colleague over there is actually working overtime and therefore, you know, flying slow, taxiing the long way around, you know, artificially increasing his block time because every minute gives money. See, that's what I mean. Him going on to November 7 over there doesn't really make all that much sense. Because he's just taxiing the longer way around now. So, I think this is link 3 over here. And he is definitely clear. He's still over there, not even on November yet. Okay, easy. Okay, start APU. And then our gate is Alpha 18. That is located just over there. So we've pretty much made it. Now the interesting question is, are we still going to have any icing on our, or any ice on our flaps that might prevent us from retracting them, or is it going to be just the standard snow? but that's going to be for the engineers, and when they tell us we can retract the flaps, then we retract them, otherwise we don't. Easy as that. The most important thing in aviation, always put the blame on others. Alright, there's Alpha 22. And then Alpha 20 and then 18. Okay, here's Alpha 20. The APU is almost started. Lights off. And here's Alpha 18. So, A321NEO is on the guidance. Come on, keep rolling.
Frankfurt traffic, Lufthansa 8, Alpha Echo established ILS 25 left, 10 miles.
Okay. Stop. Parking brake is set, engine MTI off, and 1 off, 2 off. Cabin crew, all doors in park. Okay, and here we are. Exactly on time. Schedule would have been 1200. We're here at 11:59, and that in full winter operations. You can't do it any better. Can't learn that anywhere. Okay, so doors are disarmed, engines are off. And parking checklist. Parking brake or chocks, brake set, engines off, wing lights off, and fuel pumps off. Parking checklist complete. Ground flight deck, guten Morgen. So, can you observe any icing on our flaps? I take it there's no icing anywhere over here. Alright, then we are going to retract the flaps. Well, we will need maintenance here. We got a wing anti-ice system failure. Wing anti-ice system fault, avoid icing conditions, so we will need that maintenance, otherwise that plane is stuck right where we are. Alright, well, see you up here then, and yeah, thank you very much. So let's see, fuel has been used evenly, 2.2, we got 3.7 on board, yep, that's good enough. Clear wing anti-ice, and remove status. So the flaps are retracted, and ELAC hydraulic pump is going back off. My friends, that's what I can offer you today. Thank you very much for flying along. I do hope you enjoyed this flight. As always, leave your comments in the video description below. Like, comment and subscribe, and if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me a Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one.